You're on track to be a teenage billionaire. How much does Ryan Day bring?
From just a regular immigrant family, and then
Guys, I'm so excited for this.
One of the most remarkable YouTube success stories began with a child. For years, millions of people around the world watched a young boy open toys, play games, and react.
Dad and a full-time creator that.
So that's what we did, and that really helped us keep going.
What's the most surprising?
With the kind of excitement that only a child can show. That boy was Ryan Kaji, the face behind the hugely popular YouTube brand known as Ryan's World. At the height of its popularity, the channel was generating tens of millions of dollars each year and made Ryan one of the highest-earning creators on the entire platform. But today, the story behind that success is drawing increasing scrutiny. What once seemed like a harmless viral sensation has slowly turned into a much larger discussion about child influencers, parental authority, and whether children featured in online content are truly being protected. The story begins in 2015, when Ryan was just 3 years old. His parents recorded him opening a Lightning McQueen toy from the Cars movie franchise. Well, the video was simple and genuine. Just a kid reacting with pure excitement to a toy. Yet something about it captured the attention of the internet. Within a short time, the video began spreading rapidly and gathered millions of views. After seeing how strongly viewers responded, Ryan's parents, Shion and Loann Kaji, made a decision that would change their lives. Both of them stepped away from their professional careers. One had been working as an engineer, while the other was a high school chemistry teacher. Rather than continuing in those fields, they decided to focus entirely on building Ryan's YouTube channel. What started as casual home recordings soon turned into a full media business built around their son. And the financial rewards arrived quickly. By 2018, Ryan's channel was reportedly earning about $22 million in a single year. Just 2 years later, that number had grown to nearly $30 million annually. Over time, estimates suggest the family generated somewhere between $100 and $150 million through YouTube advertising revenue, sponsorship agreements, and brand partnerships. But the business quickly expanded beyond YouTube videos. Ryan's brand soon grew into a massive merchandise empire. The family partnered with a children's media company called Pocket Watch to launch the Ryan's World franchise. Before long, products featuring Ryan's name began appearing everywhere, including clothing, bedding, toothbrushes, toys, and even video games. Major retailers such as Walmart and Target started selling Ryan's World merchandise across the United States. By 2020 alone, retail sales connected to the brand reportedly exceeded $250 million. Ryan's image had essentially become a global brand aimed at children. However, as the empire expanded, critics began raising serious concerns. The biggest issue was surprisingly straightforward. Ryan himself had no legal control over the money being generated. In traditional entertainment industries like film and television, child actors are protected by laws designed to safeguard their earnings. One example is California's Coogan law, which requires a portion of a child actor's income to be placed into a protected trust account that parents cannot freely access. But when Ryan's channel exploded in popularity, YouTube had no similar protections for child creators. That meant Ryan's parents technically had full legal authority over the income from the channel, even though Ryan was the one viewers were actually watching. Then another controversy began to emerge. In 2019, a consumer watchdog group called Truth in Advertising filed a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission. The organization claimed that many of Ryan's videos included sponsored content that was not clearly disclosed to viewers. As according to the complaint, more than 90% of the videos contained some form of paid product placement. Major companies such as Walmart, Chuck E. Cheese, Colgate, and Lunchables had reportedly paid large sums to have their products featured in Ryan's videos. Critics argued that many of the children watching were far too young to recognize that they were seeing advertisements. In other words, young viewers could be exposed to marketing without realizing it. The issue became serious enough that members of the U.S. Congress encouraged the Federal Trade Commission to investigate child influencers and enforce advertising regulations. Ryan's channel was specifically mentioned during those discussions. Each violation of advertising disclosure rules could potentially result in fines exceeding $43,000. Considering the large number of videos involved, some experts believe the total penalties could have reached tens of millions of dollars. However, despite the investigation and media coverage, no major enforcement action was ever publicly confirmed. Eventually, the story faded from headlines, and Ryan's parents appeared to avoid major legal consequences. Still, the family's reputation faced another challenge when journalists uncovered information about Loann Kaji's past. In 2002, when she was 18 years old, she was arrested for shoplifting clothing worth $93 from a department store. Yet court documents show that she was convicted and initially received probation, a fine, community service, and an anti-shoplifting education program. Later, she violated the terms of her probation by failing to complete the required conditions. As a result, a judge sentenced her to 60 days in jail, although she ultimately served around 30 days. While many people believe mistakes made during youth should not define a person's entire life, the revelation added further criticism surrounding the family's business practices. Over time, public opinion began to shift. The channel that once attracted billions of views started losing some of its momentum. Videos that previously reached enormous audiences began struggling to generate the same level of attention. Even though the channel still has around 40 million subscribers, many recent uploads receive far fewer views compared to the peak years. At the same time, a movement began spreading across social media. Viewers started using the hashtag #LetRyanRetire. Supporters argued that Ryan, now a teenager, should have the opportunity to step away from the spotlight and live a normal life outside the internet. Critics also pointed out that Ryan, now in his early teens, continues appearing in content primarily designed for toddlers. For many observers, the situation has begun to feel increasingly uncomfortable. But yet perhaps the most significant impact of this controversy is happening far beyond YouTube. Across the United States, lawmakers have begun introducing new regulations specifically aimed at protecting children who appear in online content. In January 2026, Arizona's House Commerce Committee approved legislation that would require parents of child influencers to place a portion of earnings into protected trust accounts that children can access once they turn 18. And similar laws have already been introduced or passed in states such as Utah, Illinois, and Arkansas. These regulations are meant to ensure that children who generate income online will eventually have access to the money they helped create. At the same time, regulators are examining the wider systems surrounding children's digital content. In late 2025, Michigan's Attorney General filed charges against Roku and accusing the platform of collecting data from children who watch kid-focused programming, including shows like Ryan's World. While that case does not directly target Ryan's family, it highlights how governments are beginning to examine the entire industry built around children's digital entertainment. Today, Ryan is around 14 years old. Within a few years, he will legally be able to access financial records connected to the brand built around his name. In theory, and he could even question how the money from his childhood was handled. History shows that situations like this can become complicated. Former child stars such as Macaulay Culkin famously distanced themselves from their parents after financial disputes. Whether Ryan will eventually follow a similar path remains uncertain. But one thing is clear. His story has already changed the conversation about children and social media. What began as a simple toy unboxing video eventually grew into a global brand, a public controversy, and a catalyst for new laws designed to protect young creators. And as regulations surrounding child influencers continue to evolve, Ryan's story may ultimately be remembered as the moment when the internet was forced to rethink the relationship between childhood and online fame. The question now is simple. Will Ryan one day take full control of his own story? Or will the business built around him continue to define it? Only time will tell.